Welcome to this special Mother's Day edition of Jamaica Magazine. Words cannot sufficiently express how much as a country we honor you, our mothers. Without you, there wouldn't be this nation land we love. On the show today, we pay tribute to mothers. There's also a meal for moms. And on issues, Minister Dr. Horace Chang provides some answers on the Super Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation in the Office of the Prime Minister. Stay with us as we turn the pages and celebrate our mothers.
You maintain your calm towards your only end while sheltering me from the storm.
This is the Aedes aegypti mosquito that spreads the Zika, chikungunya, and dengue viruses. Search for its breeding sites and destroy them. A message from the Ministry of Health.
Did you know that Mother's Day was celebrated in the United Kingdom before the United States of America? Oh yes, it was. Later in the show, I'll give you more facts on Mother's Day. For now, let's hear from Dr. Horace Chang, Minister without portfolio, with responsibility for water, works and housing in the Office of the Prime Minister, and his vision for those areas under his portfolio.
Thanks for joining us for Issues and Answers. I'm Ian Boyne. There are a range of issues to discuss with our guest, the Minister without portfolio in the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation, the Honorable Horace Chang. We thank you for your company. Minister, good to have you on the show. Quite a number of things under your super ministry.
Yeah,
but we know that water is one of the significant areas, and with the drought that the country experienced last year particularly, we have acute memories of shortage of water. What is your thinking in this area? What new can we expect?
Well,
what is in the offing?
Let me put it in context first. Water is one of what I consider 4 pillars of development. Water, transportation, communication, are critical and power. If those are not working and in good order in the country, there's no basis for successful, sustainable development. So water is a priority for this government to ensure that we are what the term we use is drought resilient, and we can mitigate the impact of climate change and the saline intrusion, the coastal aquifers on the southern side of the island. So emphasis will be placed on ensuring that the investment that is required to bring water up to a reliable level is done. The critical areas, if you take a large zone, so to speak, geographically, it would be the Caenwood region, which has about half our population. And bear in mind that the drought is an annual event.
Yes.
And we tend not to make any comments on the problem with water until the drought comes. But we have to prepare, and that's what we're doing. In fact, in another dispensation, the government of the Labour Party did invest significantly in water. In fact, committed some $600 million US. But it's not the exciting thing when you're doing it. It's when you don't have it. But we are committed to ensuring that we'll create and build a water sector that is drought resilient and also mitigate against the saline intrusion problem on our southern coastal aquifers. I repeated that because there's always call for what I call edifices, dams and big reservoirs.
That's not necessarily the answer.
That's not the answer. In fact, not necessarily. It's not the answer at all.
It's not. In
terms of reservoir, we already have enough reservoirs. Jamaica is a large limestone region. Our aquifers are large, and what we have to do is protect them. In fact, your least expensive means of producing water is actually wells. Surface water is extremely expensive to treat, and you still have to pump it. Once you pump out the well water, you just add chlorine and send it around. And we have satisfactory underground water storage. We have put in one of our first large artificial aquifer recharge. And it sounds, it's simple, but it's a $1 billion operation. We take excess water from the Rehoboth, treat it, and then return it to the aquifer, which the St. Catherine aquifer we're referring to extends from Central Village all the way to Old Harbour. Now, you could not build a reservoir dam that size. That's a sheer impossible. And you'd be covering half of St. Catherine Parish. And that's there. That well will, that recharge facility will allow us to draw from the wells in that region another 3.5 to 5 million gallons of water per day on a reliable basis. It will impair or it will remove the problem of saline intrusion on the southern plains over time. And in fact, we'll be able to reactivate another almost 10 wells in the Bernard Lodge area, which is now inactive or have been decommissioned because of the saline intrusion. So that kind of activity has to be done. In addition to that, we are looking at a new plant, which in fact was planned from then on the Rehoboth banks out at Content, which will give us an additional 15 million gallons of potable water into Kingston.
What time frame?
We expect to begin later this year, which means 18 months from now we should be ready. When that is combined with the non-revenue water program that's in proceeding in the corporate area, it should begin in another 3 months and was funded by the Inter-American Development Bank loans. We should be drought resilient in 24 months' time for the corporate area.
24 months.
Yeah. The
But we
non-revenue
should have
water
made some significant improvements even within 12 or 18
yes,
months.
it is, but the fact is it will not be that evident if we should have a severe drought.
Okay.
We don't expect one right now. In fact, this year has been good, quite frankly, and next year we don't anticipate it, because you get the bad drought, I think, when you have the El Nino phenomenon, which is a cyclical activity as well. The non-revenue water is critical for the corporate area. We were once a very prosperous colony, and to that extent we got some of the public facilities before many European cities, which means sewer and water.
That's right.
But the infrastructure is still the same age. There are 100-year-old sewer lines and some of the pipes are like that. So the technical defects are high, and we're losing, in many cases, up to 60-65% of the water we produce. So in fact, if we can reduce that loss by 35%, we may not have a water problem at all.
Yes. So that would be a major emphasis of the government.
Non-revenue water is a project we actually signed off on that loan before we left office in 2011. It has been a bit slow in getting off the ground, but it's now off, and we tend to prioritize it and ensure we can reduce the leakiness and the reliability, really. That's what non-revenue water really means, significantly, so that the population in the corporate area, and especially downtown Kingston, where we tend to hear about them not paying for the water bills, but the fact is they get very little water. And very little reliable water, and they have to share with neighbors, and they travel around. It's really bad, and we have to ensure that it's corrected. So the non-revenue water, the additional plant in the Rehoboth Valley, combined with our recharge, which will ensure we have credible, viable wells and supplies. In addition to that, to ensure
Let's take a break at this point, Minister. Many things to talk about just in one area, water, and there are so many areas on the Minister Chang's portfolio.
We have to mention soap before we come off.
All right, so Minister reminds us. We take a break, but we'll be right back.
It's important to store water during periods of drought. It's even more important to ensure that the water is safe. Boiling and treating your water with bleach are two of the best ways to purify water. If you choose the boiling method, allow the water to boil for 5 minutes, cover, and let it cool. Store boiled water in a clean, airtight container and use something with a handle to take out the water when needed. If you use bleach to make your water safe for drinking, use 2 drops of bleach to a liter of water, 8 drops for a gallon, and half teaspoon of bleach for 5 gallons of water. Shake well and leave for half an hour before use. Water is essential to a healthy life, so ensure yours is clean and safe for consumption.
Minister without portfolio in the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation, Honorable Horace Chang, is our guest on Issues and Answers. You are continuing, Minister.
Yeah, as I said, water is basic commodity required for the quality of life and for production. So while we're taking water out of the Rio Cobo Valley, which is one of our primary source of water, you know, a significant amount of the Rio Cobo Valley water is used for irrigation. And we don't intend in any way to deny our farmers water for irrigation, because we require the increased production in the agricultural sector. So part of that, beside the other southern plains, in this particular year, we are looking at some recycling out of soapberry. So while we are looking at divesting the property, part of it will be to not only divest to an investor as we pursue the public-private partnership model of investment, but whoever gets it will be required to expand to accommodate the additional development in the region, and also to ensure it's treated to a quality that can be used in irrigation. That's quite common internationally now, so it's not anything novel. It's maybe novel for Jamaica, but the technology exists, and the use of recycled water is now very common. In fact, somewhere like Singapore recycles about 85% of its water, and the Israelis, which many parts of the country border on the desert, they're recycling some areas up to 100%. So we're looking forward towards that activity. And you'll therefore get the picture of a kind of complete cycle of water infrastructure in the carpet area. Not a dam in the gorge, but you'll have the artificial recharge for excess water from the river. You'll have the production facility increase. We'll reduce our waste in non-revenue water. We cannot keep producing water and it keeps running away in the ground. And we'll also recycle what is coming out through soapberry. So that will give you almost a complete picture of what will be done in the metropolitan region, and will ensure that we are drought resilient, and that will also mitigate some of the impact of climate change.
Yes.
And it is what we call a holistic approach to water management. The only other factor, which we don't take much time to say, is that we'll have to ensure we manage the watersheds efficiently and effectively, and there is some work being done in the environmental sector on that particular problem.
Which leads me to the area, Minister, of the environment, and how seriously this government and you take the matter of the environment. Is this seen as just an appendage of development?
No,
in fact, an obstacle development? What is
your
government?
And I said the ministry is big, and that side of the ministry is overseen on behalf of the Prime Minister, Mr. Vaz. But Minister Vaz, the environment is very high in our thinking in terms of our development, and we use the term sustainable development. Sustainable development must take into account the environment. We are an island state, and if we don't treat our environment well, we're going to have problems down the road. And there are a number of significant activities. I've just mentioned the artificial recharge in St. Catherine, which will help to mitigate issues arising from saline intrusion on our southern weather. Entire southern, the plains of southern Jamaica are where our productive areas are. We have very little surface water, so we have to go for well water. But as you get climate change and rising sea levels, you're going to get an increasing use of irrigation. Saline intrusion is a major threat to the coastal plains. So we're seeking to deal with that problem. We had a project which originated in the previous dispensation of the Jamaica Labour Party government to look at how we will manage the Yallas and the Hope Valley rivers. It's working in collaboration with the Global Environmental Fund, but those are another two rivers that are critical to the supply of water on the southern coast, but to the environment. And we have to look at how we manage those watersheds, and funding has been allocated there, and there are priorities on what we're dealing with. So the watershed areas or underground aquifers And of course, the management of waste is a critical part of what we're doing in laying the foundation for sustainable economic growth in this country.
Yes. In the area of social water, Minister, what is your thinking? What is the thrust in that area?
You know, well, social water is not different from regular water. What we have an efficient, credible system that can carry what you'd call what is termed social water, which means those who can't afford
people.
because
That's right.
water is life. But you know, to reach those who cannot afford, we also have to reach those who can.
Yes.
And Jamaica has a pretty efficient system in terms of how we manage it, which is again we don't take credit for. Most people are not aware that we have a tiered level of water rates.
Yes.
Most Jamaicans pay the water bill, and if you use under 10,000 gallons a month, it's a reasonable price. Still not anywhere near as expensive as electricity, and with the downward fall in terms of
international oil price,
even water price, rates have gone down. But we actually have a tiered rate. Those are at what we call a lifeline rate, and our lifeline is 3,000 gallons per month. Is higher than the what is set by the WHO, which is, I think, 1,000 gallons a month.
Okay.
At that level, water is actually subsidized. I think you'll pay under $1,000 per month. I don't have the exact figures, so don't hold me to that, but I'm established the principle. Once you get to 5,000 gallons, you'll pay a little bit of a higher rate. And that, I think, is where we break even if all our customers pay. And then you get to, I think, 7.5, you pay another rate. And it is for this reason, if your pipes start leaking at home, and you get to 15,000, 20,000 gallons, your bill creates a kind of exponential jump, vertical, right? Because as you go up the scale, you pay a higher rate, and we have to sometimes make concession for industrial users. Our charge to customers is still relatively low, but we have structured it that way that the person at the very bottom will have a lower rate, a lower cost. We also have to put in place, of course, a program that will seek to provide the public water, which is tap water, which in principle is usually paid for by the taxpayer. You charge the local government authorities a fee for your standpipe, just like they pay for street lights. We don't normally collect it, but that's how it should run. And we are working on a program for rural water, which is a strategy for dealing with areas where we have non-viable water supply. That is the small districts.
That's right.
Where we want to improve, the supply by quality rainwater harvesting, sometimes district tanks managed by the local authorities. A plethora of activities. Rainwater harvesting is something that was practiced in older Jamaica very extensively. Jamaicans had a tank by the house.
That's true.
You catch the water. You can modernize that, but it's basically the same principle. And what we're going to do is try to encourage that. And conservation-wise, we'll encourage some of that in urban centers like Manchester and elsewhere. So we have a total plan to deal with water, but it will take some time and it will cost a lot of money.
Yes.
We have calculated that to get the water company up to the level it should be, it will require an investment of about $3 billion US. The other side of water into the sewer collector system. And downtown Kingston is a priority.
Yes.
Population downtown is having serious problem with sewer overflowing in the backyard. And we cannot achieve any serious quality development downtown if we don't correct the sewer collector system downtown. So for both the population and for growth and development, we require that problem.
So we need to address the area of financing. When you come back, Minister, because we have to bring you back, we haven't touched on housing and we haven't touched on the ports. And we need to complete our discussion on water. So Minister without portfolio in the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation, Honorable Horace Chang, will be back with us next week. We thank you for your company. Until next week, Ian Bourne wishing you a very pleasant day.
Georgie, let's have fun at school this year. 1, 2, buckle my shoe. 3, 4, shut the door. And let's learn new words like building. building. And vegetable, yum yum. vegetable. Adios, amigos.
On this day, moms should stay out of the kitchen. Dads and children, today you should be preparing a meal for mom. Here is one young man's idea.
Let me just bother you a bit, Matthew. What exactly are you preparing?
I'm preparing a pancake and Milo milkshake for mom.
It sounds good. Why is it important to prepare a meal for mommy?
Well, mommy always get up and prepare a meal for me, so I think it's time for me to prepare a meal for her.
That's good, Matthew. Good job. All right, so let me leave it to do your thing, and a little later we'll be speaking with the Nestle culinary expert, Miss Shelley Ann Costello, and she'll be telling us about the nutritional value of Matthew's meal. Later.
Voila.
Miss Costello, Matthew prepared a tropical pancake meal with Milo milkshake. Thank you so much, Matthew. It's a simple and nutritious meal, right?
Yes,
Why?
it is.
Why?
It is so. We use our Nestle full cream cow's milk, and you know, with milk you get your calcium and your protein. Now with the fruits from the pancake you get vitamins and minerals, so it makes it nutritious and healthy. Also, it's very quick and easy to prepare. You know, parents and kids will have the opportunity to prepare these meals because they're so easy to make, and especially they're rushing out in the morning for work. So for breakfast, these are the healthier and quicker and easier choice to make.
Why is it important to eat right?
It is important for everybody to eat right. It kickstarts your day for one when you have a healthy, nutritious breakfast, and eating right gives you a fuller lifestyle rather than not eating healthy. Thank you, Matthew. It looks delicious.
Aww. You can have a seat, and I'm sure Matthew has something in store for you.
That's nice.
Earlier, I promised you more interesting facts on Mother's Day. Listen to this.
It is said that the origin of Mother's Day goes back to the era of ancient Greece and Rome. But the history of Mother's Day can also be traced to the United Kingdom, where a Mothering Sunday was celebrated before the event started in the United States of America. Today, Mother's Day is celebrated in about 46 countries. It is celebrated at different times around the world. For instance, in the United Kingdom, it's celebrated in March. Whether the origin of Mother's Day first began in Greece or not, what's important is that a day is set aside to honor those who gave birth to the future generation. Mothers, we honor you.
Breastfeeding creates a bond between a mother and her child. It's still the most nutritious meal for a baby. Listen to this nutritionist.
Oh, milk is a living fluid. And if I'm to start with breast milk is that milk that mothers produce in preparation for their infants. And so breast milk exclusively for 6 months provides all the nutrients, all the energy that that infant needs to develop and grow. And it also confers some protection on the child. In fact, it's the child's first immunization because the colostrum, which is the first milk, is filled with antibodies. So breast milk, in essence, provides everything that that infant needs. By the time the child gets to 6 months, however, the child is going to need additional foods. But breast milk continues to provide adequate nutrition up to 2 years and beyond for that child. So it provides 1/3 of the energy requirements, 1/3 of the protein requirements. It provides vitamin C, about 45%, and vitamin A, up to as much as 75%. So it does, into the second year of life, provide adequate nutrition. It can even be one meal for that child of 2 years old.
I guarantee that the seed you plant in love, not matter how small, will grow into a mighty tree of refuge. We all want a future for ourselves, and we must now care enough to create, nurture, and secure a future for our children. Words of Afeni Shakur's, rapper Tupac Shakur's mom, who passed last week, reminding us about the love of a mother as we observe Child Month. Another edition of Jamaica Magazine comes your way tomorrow on this station. In the meantime, find out more about the government's plans for the water sector on our website, jis.gov.jm. We're also on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, so log on and stay in the know. We also welcome your feedback on our special Issues and Answers with the Ministers, so send your questions or comments to jamaicamagazine@jis.gov.jm. Until next time, I'm Theodore Henry. A special shout out to my mom, Jacqueline Garvey Henry. Have a wonderful day, everyone.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.